Hey guys, welcome back. I'm delighted that you loved and learned something from my part 1 video where I covered the overall growth charts, and in today's part 2 video you will find out the distribution and growth patterns of specific node types including Ethereum, Polygon and Sentinel. There is a lot to cover, so pay attention guys. So we talked about the node distribution on a high level in the part 1, but I want to share some more details and then jump into the growth charts. So let's start with Ethereum node distribution. In the part 1 video, we briefly saw the distribution of Ethereum node holders, but we haven't really talked about the nodes. For example, how many nodes are held by the whales. So today we'll answer that using the second chart on the right. It shows the ranking of user categories by the number of nodes held. You could see users with 21 to 50 nodes got the highest number of nodes, and those with 51 to 100 nodes got the least number of nodes, right? Let's look at the whales. So we got 162 whales here, which is 0.2%. If I click on them, you see they are ranked number 2 in terms of the number of nodes held, and they got 46,000 nodes, right? So in percentage terms, that's 32 minus 16, which is 16% of all the nodes. So whales, who are 0.2%, hold 16% of all the nodes. Now let's look at the single node holders. They rank number 4 in terms of the number of nodes held, and that's about 41,000 of the nodes. In percentage terms, that's 62 minus 48, which is about 14% of the nodes. So single node holders, that's 62% of all users, hold 14% of all the nodes. So what's the takeaway here? Most of you must be thinking like 90% of the nodes are held by whales, but we know that's not true. Only 16% are held by them. So I think the nodes are better decentralized than expected. Moving on to Polygon. From part 1 video, we know there are 0.1% whales in Polygon. If I click on them, you see they are ranked number 5 in terms of the number of nodes held. That's about 2,600. And in percentage terms, that's 83 minus 72, which is 11%. This is much lower than in Ethereum, which is 16%. And looking at the single node holders, we got 68% of them, and they collectively hold 24% of all the nodes, which is about 6,000 nodes. And this is much higher than in Ethereum, where it's only 14%. So Polygon looks better decentralized than Ethereum right now, but I think it will follow the same Ethereum distribution eventually once we see the compounding kicked in. Next is Sentinel. From part 1 video, we know Sentinel has 0 whales, but one thing that's intriguing me is extremely high single node holders. That's about 96% of all the users. I saw the growth charts, and there are no new nodes since mid of November. So it's been 3 months. I'm expecting these single node holders from November to buy new nodes and slowly move to the higher end of the spectrum. In that case, we'll see less new node holders and more 2 to 5 and 6 to 10 holders. But I don't see that here. Does that mean most Sentinel single node holders are not buying nodes? Or is there a limit on how many Sentinel nodes a wallet can hold? To be honest, I know very little about Sentinel nodes, so let me know what I'm missing here in the comment section. Enough of the distribution. Now let's talk about Ethereum node growth. On the monthly chart, we see a nice upward trend in the last 6 months, and in Jan, we grew from 42,000 to 55,000, and by end of Jan, there are about 260,000 Ethereum nodes, which is 90% of all the nodes, including Polygon and Sentinel. And the daily chart shows this trend continuation into Feb as well. In this daily chart, you could see the continued growth, and we are doing about 2,000 nodes per day in Feb, and I think we'll do a total of 60,000 in Feb. As of Feb 14, we got 280,000 nodes, So we will end up somewhere around about 320,000 nodes. So overall, the growth charts looks good. Moving on to growth rate, which is more useful. Here in blue, we see the node growth rate, and it's fairly constant for the last 5 months, except in November. So in December, we grew by 29%, which is from 33,000 nodes to 42,000. And in Jan, we grew slightly better at 31% from 42,000 nodes to 55,000. So the daily will give us the picture of Feb. But before that, let's look at the new node percentage in red. So here it's fairly constant in the last 4 or 5 months. And as this approaches 0, we know we need to move out of the Ponzi model, right? So we talked about new node percentage a number of times, and it basically tracks the growth rate. In the daily chart, you could see the node growth rate is declining in Feb. So there are smaller positive peaks and bigger negative peaks, right? So that tells us there is a declining trend in the growth rate, and this is not good. Some people say fractional nodes will help here. That's right. But then we need to revisit the definition of a node, and we need to run these numbers separately for full nodes and fractional nodes. So overall, the growth chart looks okay, but the growth rate is declining, and that's a problem. Next, let's talk about the user growth. In this monthly chart, I got the nodes created by old users in black and by new users in blue, right? And the orange indicates the percentage of nodes created by new users every month. From the beginning, you could see a declining new user percentage, right? And also the same trend can be noticed in the new user growth rate as well, right? From the beginning. In October and November, the new user share is about 25%, and you can see it's falling down. We are at 19% in Jan. The growth rate chart below kind of explains this with its declining trend. We even have months with 0 growth rate percent. For example, in October, we have 8,000 nodes created by the new users, and in November, it's also 8,000, right? We didn't see any significant improvement in the rate of growth. So in general, we need to see more and more nodes created by new users than what we are seeing right now. The daily chart kind of explains the same thing. You see how the growth rate is almost constant on the daily, right? So it tells us the same story. We need more new users. That could be with more marketing, fractional nodes, things like that. That's all about Ethereum. Now let's move on to Polygon node growth. In the monthly, we don't see much going on here because Polygon nodes are just 3 months old. We can see in December, we got 6,000 nodes, and in Jan, that's about 10,000. So we grew by over 50% in Jan, and the total, we are at about 16.8 thousand. On the daily, we are doing better in Feb than in Jan. Our daily run rate in Feb is about 500 nodes per day, whereas in Jan, that's about 300 per day, right? And there is this huge spike in Feb where we created 1,000 nodes per day, which is twice the daily average in Feb. If you know the reason, please put it in the comment section below. We know the most important thing here is the growth rate, right? Let's go into the growth rate chart and see whether we are increasingly creating more and more nodes. I got the growth chart here, and unfortunately, we are not seeing a significant increase in the growth rate. In the user growth rate chart, we are not seeing significant growth in the new users as well. Lastly, I'll touch upon the Sentinel node and user growth. In the monthly chart, we don't see too much activity except these 4 months from August to November, and there are literally no new nodes from mid of November, I would say. I want to show you something on the daily chart. In my video about StrongBlock sustainability, I talked about flattening of the exponential growth. In my previous video on sustainability, I talked about flattening of the exponential growth using a logistic or S-curve. You can in fact see the same S-curve in the Sentinel case. So there is this exponential growth phase and the flattening phase, right? So I see the same thing happening with Ethereum and also Polygon at some point in the future. Here I got the growth rate charts. These are pretty dead, so I'll just skip it right away. Lastly, let's look at the user growth chart of Sentinel. This is very different compared to Ethereum and Polygon, especially in terms of the new user percentage. We have a lot of nodes created by new users as compared to the old users. You can see that from the black and blue bars here. The black indicates old user nodes and blue indicates new user nodes. So I'm not sure why we are not seeing the old users creating more and more nodes. Is there because there is some type of limit per wallet? If you know the reason, let me know, guys. And that's it on Sentinel. Now let's wrap up. In this two-part series, I covered a number of indicators. If you don't understand any of them, please go through the videos again or ask your questions in the comment section below. I promise I'll answer every single question. And also, I will do similar videos maybe once a month or so to help you decide based on real data and not opinions. Here are the 7 takeaways. Number 1, Ethereum whales hold 16% of nodes, and that's 11% for Polygon. Number 2, we see increasing new nodes each month for Ethereum and Polygon. Number 3, out of every 5 nodes created, 4 of them are Ethereum and 1 is Polygon. 4, the rate of new nodes is fairly the same in Ethereum and Polygon, and for Ethereum it could decrease in Feb. Number 5, for Ethereum and Polygon, we are seeing increasing nodes created by new users. Number 6, the rate of increase in the nodes created by the new users is almost the same, which is not good. Number 7, for Sentinel, there are no new nodes since mid of November and no one has more than 20 nodes. And that's it for today, guys. See you again with another unique video.